So I'm going to give you a preview of coming attractions right now. I know that sounds weird, right? I'm going to give you the headlines. I'm going to give you a little bit of analysis on some of these headlines. But coming up later in a couple of hours, it's going to be Jeff Lutz. And this is taking us a while to prepare because this was a massive news day, maybe one of the biggest news days ever in terms of tech, in terms of science, in terms of the future. I'm sorry, we're just going to take a little longer than usual to prepare, but you definitely want to come back and hear what Jeff and I talk about later tonight. So let's start with the action for today. We know that this morning I already talked to you about what was happening with regard to Tesla itself. But with it, Tesla basically followed the market. It was not far off from what expectations would have been given the kind of market day that we had today. So what happened in the market? Well, we had the president started it out and he said, look, we're getting close to the end of the war or the conflict or whatever you want to call it. We're getting very close to some kind of a deal. That caused oil prices to drop precipitously, like $7, $8. As those oil prices went down, well, the bonds, as we've been talking about for days and days now, the bonds are just waiting for some relief from the potential inflation that will be coming up in months ahead. And so the bond yields dropped precipitously. At one point, they were down 9 basis points. So you get that combination. Well, the stock, the equities love that. So the equities shot up. We almost got back to all-time highs as everybody anticipated. The after hours that were to come, which was mostly about Nvidia, we didn't know that we were going to get the double shock. We are going to get the double wave of news with the SpaceX S1. So this was how the day played out, and Tesla did very nicely today. Went back up into the 420s. Has come down a little bit in the after hours. We'll look at that in just a minute. Anyway, Nvidia, they kicked it, of course, as usual. They blew out all the expectations. They beat the top line, they beat the bottom line, and they talked a little bit about their relationship with Anthropic and how important that is. And I think that was one of the key takeaways. And maybe Jeff and I will have a chance to talk about that. But Anthropic, of course, is very, very heavily, very, very heavy user, not so much of the compute, but rather of the inference. And this is why they made the big deal with SpaceX. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Jensen said, "Hey, we're starting to sell a whole bunch of the units of our units to Anthropic because they need more and more and more and more of this inference as we get into the new world where inference is going to be gobbled up." It's just you got to think about, just take an Optimus robot or a Figure One robot or any one of the other robot companies. The amount of inference, a lot of that inference is going to be right there at the edge, but they're still going to need a lot of inference in the cloud in order to back up those actions. Same for the cars. It just goes on and on and on and on. So the had so basically, last time I checked, Nvidia was down a little bit in the after hours. Not unusual for Nvidia to not have much of a reaction on the day of, unlike Tesla, which commonly has a major reaction on the day of. But we'll see what happens with Nvidia over the next couple of days. The Fed minutes came out today. That was the second piece of news. There was nothing in particular to talk about in the Fed minutes. We talked a little bit this morning about what some of the Fed speakers have been saying on the trail, which is basically, look, we're in pretty good shape. There was a majority who thought maybe there would have to be an increase in the interest rates, but it was not all of them. And so I don't think you're going to see an increase or a decrease in June when they next meet. SpaceX then came out. They're saying in the S1 that they are going for an $80 billion raise. Elon said in there, or said afterwards, I'm not sure exactly where, but with all of the stuff that was going around, is that he sees that the data centers in space and the communications in space, between those two, is the largest TAM of any company product ever in the history of the world. He said that will be not 25 trillion in market cap. That would be a $25 trillion worth of business. All right. So if you get $25 trillion worth of business, your market cap's going to be a lot higher. You could probably guess in the range of 100 billion. Now, they're not going to get 100% of that 25 trillion, but they're going to get the vast majority. I have been thinking about this a little bit more over the last couple of days when you got Jeff Bezos and others building these other rocket companies and sending up their own comm satellites. It's going to be kind of like Uber and maybe even Waymo. The same thing's going to happen in space. Yes, I think Elon is going to get the vast majority of it, but there's going to be some left over for some of the other players. Uber, I keep saying it's not necessarily because they're going to get a lot of that pick up the regular, autonomous cab business, because they're a long way from having autonomous cabs, but they've got to deal with Elon for autonomous trucks. They got all kinds of new businesses that are opening up, including a car rental business. So I just think he's really, really nimble, and he's probably going to find a way. Also in the SpaceX news, that TAM that we just talked about, that does not include a dollar for China or Russia. And who knows, China and Russia might have to come along at some point if they're going to be a player at all. We did get the announcement that retail will be in for some shares, but there's no details other than it's the same price that everybody else gets at the IPO. That was spelled out clearly. But we don't know yet when you have to be an owner. We do know that the shares will be purchased only through the banks and investment companies that are offering the shares. So you'll probably need to sign up and get an account there if you want to be able to trade your shares on that IPO. Colossus profit. Are you ready for this? With Nvidia's decision to rent Colossus, SpaceX will make between $6 and $11 billion per year. Midpoint around 8.5 billion. That's according to Grok. This is my own reporting. Nobody else is reporting this, but this amount of profit, that includes a write down, for that 3 years of the Colossus initial investment. Maybe Jeff Lutz and I will talk more about that later. But yeah, this will mean that the profitability of SpaceX is not in question over the next several years. They'll be making lots of money and amazing amounts of free cash flow. Don't get confused by some numbers out there that are showing that free cash flow for SpaceX in the first quarter was negative. They had a profit actually, but the cash flow was negative. They will be listed on the NASDAQ. We kind of knew that already. There will be a phased unlock over the 180 days. Some of the people will be able to unlock on the day of. Others will not be able to unlock until much later, up until, like I say, 180 days. How does this impact merger talk? I'll talk to that about Jeff when he's on later tonight. All right, the current AI infrastructure buildout, data centers, GPUs, powers, networking, is frequently compared. Okay. Let me set that up again. Let me set that up differently. There's a bunch of people talking right now about the fact that the S&P is so narrowly focused. It's like 7, 8, 9 stocks, own all the business, are getting all the earnings, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot more than that. It's maybe 100 companies that are all involved in the AI future, but it's dominating. It's just really, really dominating. And some people compare it to the dot-com bust in 2000 after the big dot-com run-up, because there's a lot of infrastructure being laid. Well, I just continue to believe that it is not like the 1990s. And most of these guys that are running the hyperscalers like Jensen Huang and Elon Musk are saying, look, this is bigger than the internet by a lot. It's not even close. And so what's the best comparison? I think the best comparison is the railroads. And you had Cern Basher do a very detailed analysis of that on my show several months ago. But let's just take a look real quick at the comparison. You see, they both represent massive, transformative, private sector-led infrastructure investments that concentrated capital. They drove market euphoria, and they reshaped the economy. Huge parallels to the stock concentration that 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐼𝐻 came out with today, all scared. You see, the railroads at its height in the 1880s, construction/investment consumed roughly 5 to 6% of US GDP. Some estimates peak that it became even higher, up to 10 to 20% higher in the mania years. Well, this involved laying tens of thousands of miles of track annually, funded heavily by bonds, stocks, and some government land grants, subsidies. It was the dominant infrastructure product of the Gilded Age. Well, AI today, their related data center capex is running at 1.2% of GDP. In 2025, with hyperscaler big tech spending, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, and of course Tesla, right now they're projecting 400 to 700 billion for 2026. Broader projections, including power, etc., could push that total, towards trillions by 2030. But it's still a smaller percentage of GDP than railroads at their peak. It's growing extremely fast and already surpassing the dot-com telecom buildouts. So railroads were larger relative to the economy of their time, but AI is more capital intensive per unit. And so you're going to see more and more of this. This is not over yet. And when it came to the stock markets, the railroads dominated the stock market. Capital raising in the late 1800s, railroad stocks, bonds formed a huge chunk of the market cap because of speculation. Overbuilding led to busts, but you're not going to see much overbuilding leading to busts in this case. But the network of the railroads endured. The concentration was extreme. Rails were all that mattered for growth investment narratives, similar to what we're hearing today. The top 10 stocks at the record 41% of S&P today is nearly 30. As discussed. So you got the top 10 stocks are almost 41% of the S&P. The AI capex is overwhelmingly from a handful of hyperscalers, flowing heavily into Nvidia and ecosystem players. This echoes the railroad era exactly. Well, what about long-term legacy? Railroads, they dramatically lowered transportation costs, opened the West, boosted agriculture, manufacturing, and productivity. Estimates without the rails, U.S. would have been 25% lower GDP by 1890. A united national market spurred industrialization. And then in the short term, there were some panics, some bankruptcies, overcapacity. Now, what about AI? Aiming for similar transformation, productivity gains across sectors, agentic automation, new applications, robotics, energy, etc. It's already pushing electricity demand with construction-related industries to build more and more and more electricity. Of course, the risks include overbuilding, and we could have moments of that. You could have a year when maybe something or some parts are overbuilt, and it might just be because of timing. You've got plenty of chips, but you just don't have enough energy. You have plenty of chips, you don't have enough memory. You don't have enough chips. Now you've overbuilt energy to take it to the next level. Okay, what about the bottom line? The AI build-out is a modern analog to the railroad era, concentrated, hype-driven, infrastructure-heavy with bubble talks, but potential for enormous productivity payoffs. I think the productivity payoffs are going to be, as Elon says, in the double digits. Some people have talked about it being in the, not just 10, 11, 12%, but even higher. History suggests a volatility, but survivors and the broader economy will benefit long-term. All right, so I'm just reminding you right now that Jeff Lutz is coming up later tonight, and you don't want to miss it. I'm going to guess that it's going to be about 8 o'clock California time. I think that's roughly when we're going to do it. It'll be heavy on the analysis because I just gave you the headlines. We'll talk about the headlines, but it'll be heavy on the analysis. All right, now let's take a look at where the stocks are right now. We have got Tesla down a little bit, down $2.51 after being up $13 in the regular trading. Let's put that all into into percentages. Tesla was up 325 during the day. It is down 0.6 in the after hours. Then let's go ahead and we're going to take a look. The Dow Jones was up 1.31, NASDAQ up 1.54, S&P up 1.08, and the Mag 7 were all up. VIX came down. At one time, it was even lower, but it ended up at 1744. Quite a good position. Definitely risk on for the day. All right, let's go ahead and look at the bonds. They had come down. So let's take a look. There was a headline I was reading. Anyway, so we have got bonds up 2.5 basis points after coming down about 7.5 during the day. We have got oil up 64 cents. It's still under 100 on Texas Intermediate at almost 99, and Brent is currently unchanged at 105. You got the NASDAQ. Natural gas up 1.23%, still just barely over $3, but over $3. You got gold up 1180 in the pre-market. Silver, it all went away. Silver up much less right now. Actually, gold up 0.26 with silver only up 0.04 in the pre-market. And copper down just a tad, almost unchanged. We got the dollar dipping on hopes for an Iran deal. And we have got Bitcoin up 777 so far for the day. Ethereum up 0.84% at 2130. And the equities right now, much better, getting very close to green. They were much worse earlier. We've got the Dow down 0.24, the S&P down 0.44, and the NASDAQ down 0.70. What do I think is going to happen tomorrow? I think the rally's back on unless the president gives us some bad news. We did have one piece of rather rough news. I thought I had it written down here. Let me just go back and check. I'll make sure I get it right. We had one. Oh, yes, it was. Sorry, Intuit. So Intuit, which is, Intuit plus a bunch of other software companies, they missed, but they didn't miss by much. And they also laid off 17% of their workforce, but they said it had nothing to do with AI. But that did impact the stock market, did impact the equities. And so it could have an impact tomorrow as well. We'll see what it does with some of the other SaaS group. But in general, tomorrow I think could be a really good day. But even though right now the pre-market is showing a little tentativeness with regard to the morning. All right, Jeff up later. Do not miss it. You will be thrilled that you watched it. It's Randy Kirk. It's been great talking to you.